All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And I got some Halo 5 in the background. I played a few sessions as of the last couple of days before getting back into Infinite, but there's a reason also why I have the gameplay in the background, because it has actually a lot to do with what I wanted to talk about. Now, on this channel, in the comments section or whatnot, as far as I know, in terms of the people that watch me, some of you guys are casual, some of you guys are competitive, and some of you guys are somewhere in between. Some of you guys are content creators, some of you are not. So there's a wide variety of all sorts of viewpoints, which is also something that is very essential for today's commentary. So the subject of today's commentary is, do skill gaps in video games actually ruin video games? Like, and what I mean by ruin is, like, how do I put this? Like, does it stop that game from making more money or being more popular? Because when you look at the past, when you look at games like Black Ops 1, when you look at games like Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2, let's not confuse that with Modern Warfare the Second. I'm going to call that Modern Warfare the Second thanks to Jay Boendeman's videos. I've been watching him lately, of course, one of the best content creators, one of the best commentators to ever do it, in my humble opinion. He calls it Modern Warfare the Second. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's actually clever. I'm going to call it Modern Warfare the Second because there's only one Modern Warfare 2. And back in the day of Modern Warfare 2, okay, when that game came out, and obviously games previous to that, yes, there was a competitive aspect to first-person shooters. Better players were better. Players that were not weren't. But regardless of how good or how bad somebody was in quote-unquote skill, they kept on coming back to the game and playing it. So I'm not so sure if the skill gap ruins the money or whatnot, because obviously in today's games, what they're doing is they're having, even in social playlists, in pubs, so to speak, right? Whether it's in Call of Duty, whether it's in Halo, or anything else like Apex Legends, even Fortnite and stuff like that, right? There's some sort of form of skill-based matchmaking going on, right? Some forms of it are better than others. I personally don't think strict skill-based matchmaking belongs in any social or pub playlist, especially since the population is much bigger, and it's a complicated thing, and what it can do, the connection, everything like that. But anyway, that's not what I don't want to go off on a tangent on that. But basically, when you look at the past, all evidence points to the direction that no, it's not going to ruin your game. Even when you look at Black Ops 3, for instance, right? Remember the shop? Remember the Blackjack shop in Black Ops 3, right? It still generated over $1 billion every quarter or so for Activision, regardless of the fact that the game was actually, you know, it had no strict skill-based matchmaking in pubs. It had team balancing. So if the game thought you were the best player, it would put all the worst players on your team, and it would put all the better players on the other team, so to speak, right? So you'd have a little bit more of a hard time, but for the most part, it's still a hell of a lot better than what we're getting with games today. So, so the thing is, it's still, the games are still popular. They have the factor that keeps them coming back, but and it seems like as time goes on, they're kind of doing the vice versa. They're going in reverse, so to speak, right? There's less and less of that addictive factor that gets you coming back to that game, and yet skill-based matchmaking or whatever matchmaking algorithm they have for that game is making the game less enjoyable, and there's less of a grind factor because they're not putting things into the games like they used to. Right now, it's all about battle passes instead of prestiges and stuff like that, right? But when I was starting out, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. So when I was starting out, with any game like with the first-person shooter like Call of Duty, for instance, right? Or even Halo, actually. I started out with Halo before Call of Duty. I didn't care how bad I did. Now, obviously, when I did good, it was great, right? It was good. Everybody likes having good games, but it was the experience more than anything else that had you coming back to that game, right? It was the thrill of just getting that one more kill. It was that thrill of getting a double kill, possibly, or a perfect sniper headshot, or just teaming up with your teammates and doing goofy shit and laughing your asses off and just enjoying the controls of the game and everything that comes with it. Even if you're just playing campaign, there's a lot of all sorts of different, it's a different mixed bag of all sorts of enjoyment that is to be had, right? So so it goes a little bit deeper than that, right? So it's like right now with what they're creating in terms of what they're giving to us nowadays, right? Over the last few years, give or take. It's it's doing the opposite of what that did, but yeah, at the same time, they're still making a shit ton of money. And probably the reason for that is because they want everybody to be as close to that average number as possible. And if you are an average or even below average player, you're not even going to notice a difference. So basically, only the average to below average players are experiencing things that we similarly experienced back in the day. But it's worse though. You know why? Because they're never gonna enjoy the benefits of enjoying being that good player on their team and continuing to get even more kills per game, more score per minute. More sniper headshots and all that kind of stuff, you know, taking risks where they otherwise wouldn't, and just for the thrill of the kill, so to speak, right? So I find this subject very fascinating, because when you look at like this game, for instance, Halo 5, which in my opinion is the Halo with the biggest skill gap of them all, that I enjoy greatly, actually. I enjoy the gunplay. It's something that makes me come back. The forms of advanced movement, which isn't, like, in my opinion, overkill, in my opinion. It's not like crazy. I think it added to the game. I personally don't see it as a bad thing, but, you know, some of the Halo purists don't agree. They've kind of done a few things here and there to mitigate that. Like, for instance, if you're sprinting, you're never going to heal if you take damage until you stop sprinting for a certain period of time, and then your shields recharge. So, again, I fully didn't agree with that, because I felt like it ruined the flow of the game, but I know why it did it, because they're trying to appease everybody, like including the Halo purists. You know, everybody's got their points of view and everybody has their preferences. So I'm just going to, you know, respectfully say I wish they didn't do that, but I understand why they did, looking at it from the other side. But the thing is, at this point right now, it's become so much about money that the games that we're getting nowadays, it's like their integrity of what they are in the first place has really gone downhill. And the thing is that the people that see it the most are the minority, the people that are above average players. Because when you look at the viewpoint from not the developers, but like from the publishers, the guys that are in charge of making the money and advertising the game and all that kind of stuff, the guys that actually, you know, get the algorithm in there and stuff like that and say, hey, you know, we want the highest player retention, so we want you to do this, right? You know, these guys only care about the dollar, right? Unfortunately. But the thing is, these guys have already been making money since beforehand, but greed knows no bounds, man. Greed knows no bounds. And I want to know in the comments section, this is where I want you guys to get involved with this. Do you think games that have a higher skill gap, right? Like take skill-based matchmaking out of the equation, right? Do you think games that have a higher skill gap to where the good play, I mean, in my opinion, regardless of skill gap in the game, in my humble opinion, you guys can disagree with me all you want. You have every God-given right to do so. But in my opinion, in the majority of the times, in any skill gap in any game, the player that truly has the better skill is more often going to come out on top over the player that doesn't. It just so happens to be aggravating because the way the games are designed lately, that bad player is getting kills on you that shouldn't, because of the way the game is designed via algorithm-based, right? Whether it means they have more aim assist than you do, whether it means they have bigger hitboxes than you do and all that kind of stuff, right? It's very unfair. It's an uneven playing ground. So to the point to where the good player can only do so much. But at the same time, I'm looking at what the pros are doing. I'm looking at what above average players are doing. I'm looking at what some of these streamers are doing, the legit streamers, at least from what I can tell. And they're still very good players, and you can still tell the difference in terms of how they perform, their accuracy, their decision making, all that kind of stuff. All these things together that we've learned over the years are what sets those players apart from just your average Joe, right? And of course, there's amount of time invested in the game and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it seems like some of these algorithms that are put into the game are meant to adapt. So the better you get, the worse it gets for you, because it's constantly trying to battle you. I think there might be a cap to that. I think there might be a certain point to where it's like there's a max. I don't think it keeps on adapting. It keeps on recording information, but I don't think after a certain point, I don't think it gets like any more ridiculously strict. I think there's a cap somewhere, but it's a high cap though, I think. That's just my opinion. But when you guys go back and look at the older games and stuff like that, do you think that anybody really cared? Like having the option just to quit out of games and find a new one, for those people that got their asses handed to them and didn't stay in the lobby, right, because they were getting score streaks dropped on them in Call of Duty, for instance, do you think that those guys really gave a damn on whether or not they played the game or whether or not they bought anything from the store? Because all evidence, according to the past, when you look at the shop and when you look at the amount of money that Activision continued to make before things got this bad, they were still making their money. They were still breaking records. Even Infinite Warfare, which is one of the least popular Call of Duties, if not the most, least popular Call of Duty, if not the most, the least popular Call of Duties out of them all, guess what? That game was still making a lot of money. So it's like, you know, it may not have been like previously because of the popularity of the game gone down or whatnot, but still, when you put two and two together, it's like, bro, you're still continuing to make good money. You know, I remember, I think World War II, broke records in the beginning when that game sold. So money is still there to be made, and the thing is, things don't really have to be this bad in order for them to generate revenue. All you need is a good product, really. I mean, look at Elden Ring. I know Elden Ring is not a multiplayer game, but I'm gonna refer to Elden Ring. This is one of the reasons why, in my opinion, Elden Ring is really one of the best games of all time. Like, I'm not gonna put it at the best or whatnot, but I'm gonna say it's one of the best, and it deserves that spot and that kind of accolade because it came out at the time when games are like, you got people saying left and right that games are shit now, or there's nothing to play, so to speak, despite the fact you got services like Game Pass and all that kind of stuff, because of the way games have been designed and released now, and everything that's implemented into those games behind the scenes that only the good players know about, or the content creators, or both, or whatever, you know? So I want to know down in the comment section from you guys that are listening to this, that are watching this video, I mean, do you think that the good players, you know, the ones that kept on handing their noobs their asses to them, do you guys think that we ruined it? Or do you think it was maybe those content creators that were actually, I don't know, maybe cheating or reverse boosting too much, maybe using Cronus Maxes because before it became as widely known as it is today and all that kind of stuff? Do you think that played a role as well? What do you think? Or do you think it's a mixed bag of everything? I want to know. I want to know what your opinions are on the matter because it's important. So anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.